You've Got 5 Options show,
where every week Marta and Anna abandon their 5 children, 2 partners, and 1 cat to make a show especially for you.
an artist, a challenge, a bullshit, a wisdom, and a surprise. Tune in and feel the magic of 5.
Oh, what worries me is that I see many posts by parents in that group, because I am not a member, but I read it. When, a mother is sharing that I prefer to follow my motherly intuition and I prefer to follow my heart, and my heart tells me that there is a danger and I don't want to send my kids. And then there are likes and there are yes, you are so brave. And I've seen 2 or 3 posts by parents who are saying, I'm also following my intuition and I will send my children. And then the comments are a bit different. Yeah, but it's danger. What will you do when your child gets sick? How will you ensure that your child will not infect others? So what I'm worried about is that the motherly intuition is only okay if it is fear-based. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't see any difference in that regards when it comes to raising children than what we already know. I see the same kind of discussions when it comes to whether you will breastfeed or use the bottle.
Yeah.
And that shifts, yeah? In the past, you were a good mom if you were given a bottle. And now, at least my impression is that majority, more than half,
yeah.
I don't know, but that can still be just a subjective impression, is that you are a good mom if you breastfeed. So I do not see any difference here. I see it the same way as it always comes with motherhood, parenthood. Your decision, if you are fear-based, if you're a fear-based parent, if someone is taking another decision than yours, you take it personally because you believe that makes your decision wrong. People who are fine with their own, worthiness, their own decisions, they don't mind other people taking other decisions. That's what I believe. I mean, as long as there is freedom to take the decision that is good for you, I do not see a reason why to even criticize another mother. As long as she's not, beating her child black and blue. Blue is a color, I've mentioned that before. I had a blue child for different reasons.
Yes. Sadness.
That was
sadness.
Yeah, that was sadness. I don't see why to criticize. I have been talking to a few mothers that take a different decision than my own. I am full of compassion. They are, for example, Italian moms or Spanish moms who are getting a lot of information from their own countries where the situation is really bad. They are scared. I have talked to moms who have very small babies, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, who cannot take any concern when it comes to any social distancing or anything like that. I understand that fully. I have talked to moms who said, you know what, I got to enjoy having my children at home. I am bonding with my children. I believe that right now the pedagogues will be stressed at the beginning if they get too many kids. I have the beautiful opportunity to keep my kids at home, and I'm going to keep them. And that's one of the friends that sent me an email or showed an email on her Facebook page from the school saying that's perfectly fine to leave your kid at home, even though it's school. Another thing that I have noticed is that the division right now, because that was not the case at the very beginning when it was announced, a lot of people were divided at that point. But to me, it seems that right now the division is mainly when it comes to kindergarten children, those small kiddos who really don't know how to keep the distance, how to wash their hands properly and so on. At least in my child's school, all the kids are back in his class. So it does not seem to be a big concern for the actual bigger kids, the school kids. The school has been amazing, taking the measures that, to the highest level they can, organizing the school in such a great way. Really, so quickly. They use the time over Easter to divide the school so that children, they are divided in groups of 3 with whom they are playing all the time together. The classes are divided because only half of the school is back. The other half is studying from home, the oldest kids. So the kids are divided into classrooms. They are really sitting 2 meters away. They are spending vast majority of time outside. I believe that really, from my point of view, from my gut feeling, I believe that kids are safer there, being so much outside and playing, being happy, because my kids are happy like piglets that they can be back with their friends, are healthier in general, the general health well-being, the mental and physical well-being from playing outside in the nice sunny spring weather in Denmark, and mentally happy to be with their friends, than when they are sitting at home depressed and not being able to go out. That's my view, but I have absolutely deepest respect for another take from any other mom.
Yeah, I have to say, guys, I'm probably a bit of a, and I will use this word and it will be probably misunderstood. I'm probably a bit of anarchist in a sense that I actually am not a big fan of big government decisions being done and influencing everyone. So I had my own opinions about the strategy that government took with the lockdown, but I had to obey, although from the ideological point of view, I believe that we should be able to exercise our own free will. I am now claiming exactly the same. If you want to leave your child home, I would love this not to be a problem. I believe it's every parent's individual decision. I might not agree with you. I might change, meaning I might have sent my children to school with no problem, but I would never impose my opinion on other parent who doesn't feel that this is not okay with them. So I believe everyone should have a right to choose. So I'm coming back to actually that's my ideology, and I understand the parents who are afraid, and I don't believe that children should be forced to go anywhere, because parents should be able to make those decisions. So that's my opinion. Dennis, what do you think? Before we will jump to Artist of the Week, because we have one, guys, today.
Okay, it's a very, very large question, but I do agree with Marta. You have to make an informed decision. And to make an informed decision, you have to jump to number, 3? The vaccines. What's the real alternative to actually opening up society slowly? There is none, because we don't have a vaccine and we don't have a cure. So the best we can hope for right now, as far as I understand, is developing some sort of herd immunity. And we can only do that by letting those least affected get the disease and then slowly develop this immunity. And science says that it's the smallest children who has the least effect by this disease. So what is the real alternative? Free will and everything, that's all good and well, but sadly you can never trust an entire population to be informed enough to make rational decisions. And what is intuition if it's not based on actual knowledge? It's worthless. And I'm not going to say that, because becoming a mom doesn't make you smart. It just makes you a mom.
Yeah, some could argue the opposite.
And they'd be wrong, because you don't gain any knowledge about science and infections and vaccines and immunity by becoming a mom. You gain a lot of wisdom, but you don't gain scientific knowledge. And I will be strung up somewhere for saying that, but that's just the case. So free will extends as far as it encroaches on other people's. So making it up to everybody, it just doesn't work on a national or international scale.
Well, that does go out to the vaccination topic largely. We
will have a lot of fun in the part 2 of this program.
Yep.
But I think, Marta, thank you very much for this, because I think it was very informative, but also full of compassion and respect message that you have sent to people, to parents, to Dennis. So I think it's really valuable that you shared this, and I hope that we will all be able to respect our decisions where we are not forced to send our children. The ones that want to keep them home, please do so. If you find joy in it, that's even better, because with small children, it might be that it's actually, oh my God, I can stay with my child home, right? If you feel that it's safe or it's a better solution to send your child, please do so. And don't get affected by parents who are saying that you are a suicidal person who is using your child as an experimental rabbit. Don't listen to that. Just do as you do, because there is, so far as I know, no requirement to send your child by force. You can decide. Please do so and respect our other parents' decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think there is a strong disconnect between the word guinea pigs or experimental and then the knowledge of how vaccines and herd immunity works. There's a complete disconnect between those two terms. And the gap just lacks sense.
The gap is getting wider and wider, I'm afraid, Dennis.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah, but let's jump to our artist of the week. Let's go with the jingle, and I will make a magic phone call.
Supermoon Music brings to you Artist of the Week.
So, guys, I am dialing Sabrina, our today's Artist of the Week. And I hear...
Hello.
Hi, Sabrina. How are you? This is Anna from You've Got 5 Options.
Oh, hey. I'm really well. I was waiting for the interview.
Yes, and here we are. We are not on air, but you will be on air in around an hour, I believe. Right, Marta?
Yes.
Yes, Marta is my co-host here. Sabrina,
Hello.
thank you very much. You are a very special artist that we are having, because you are our very first artist after the lockdown of the station. So first of all, congratulations. And
thank you.
second of all, please tell us a little bit about your music and what are you doing? Because we got your info and your song from Dave from Supermoon Music. But maybe the best way would be for you to present yourself. So tell us, what are you playing? What is your music, and why are you doing this in the first place?
So my name is Sabrina, and I'm originally from Romania, from Transylvania. And
Ooh.
right now I live in Denmark, land of Dracula.
Of course.
And right now I'm living in Denmark, where I'm a professional singer and guitarist. And recently I started making my own music. Generally, I compose alternative music, indie and electronic, and I try to create like a special genre, like my own. And I chose this song "Stuck" to be on radio because it's a very special song for me. I composed it when I went through some tough times, and it really helps me a lot. That's my way of coping with things. I compose music. And I hope that this song can actually help other people as well that go through hard times.
Well, you might have an audience here, Sabrina, because I believe that a lot of people currently are going through hard times, and a lot of people are actually stuck. I know that probably, no, you didn't plan that, because you have actually said the song before the lockdown. But before we will listen to your song, I would also like to ask you, how are you doing during the lockdown? You know, if you are a professional musician, that must be a little bit tough.
Yeah, I coped quite well. Like, I'm super surprised because I thought it's going to be a bit harder. It's true, it's a bit tough for the musicians at this time because basically our income comes from gigging most of the time, you know, going out for gigs and stuff. But this can also be a great chance for musicians to actually work on more on their music and on development and, you know, planning. And surprisingly, it's great that many musicians are so creative and they came up with live gigging, you know, on Facebook. And even I have friends that just gig from their balcony, you know, they just go up and play guitar, have a mobile payphone number there. So there are some, really creative people that still find their way out. So that is great. But we're all looking forward to this lockdown to end.
To end, okay. Please tell us, Sabrina, how can we support you personally if we would like to? And we would like to. It's not like we wouldn't like to. We actually would like to support you. Besides, of course, playing your song on the radio, what can people do to support you and musicians these days?
I think the best way to support musicians in these days is stay at home and wash our hands, because the faster this lockdown is going to end, the faster we can actually start gigging again and start earning more money.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so, but can we do something? Do you have some music coming out, or are you organizing an online concerts of any kind?
I'm actually planning to organize a live concert soon, and I just got my songs now on Spotify, and it would be great. It would be great if people would actually check them out. So
Okay.
I won't mind.
So we will put all the links to your websites, to your Facebook page, and to your Spotify in show notes of this episode when it will come out as a podcast. So then people can go in and check when it's Sabrina's concert and how to find your music and you. Okay, super. Thank you very much, Sabrina. And now we will
Thank you as
play
well.
your song. So get ready and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Got stuck in my mind, so busy, I left you behind. I'm not gonna lie, part of me died, got up into silent thought. In the silent thought, I forgot who I was meant to be or not. No one else will see that I cried, 'cause this thought too into silent thought. So let's get up and say how we feel when the pain gets real and the silence starts to break in pieces. Oh, now release me, oh, now, or release me, oh, now, or release me, oh, now, Got stuck in your love, couldn't see anyone above. If I was lost, stuck in your silent thought, with your face, body, love, honey, I couldn't lie to you all, honey. Tell me why.
And that was Sabrina with a song Stuck. If you are interested in Sabrina, probably not for dating purposes, but in her music, then definitely visit our show notes of this episode on the 5options.com, 5 as a number, on Tuesday. And you will be able to track her down, not her as a person, but her music. Why am I sounding so creepy?
Because it's Corona times and the world is creepy.
The world is creepy, yeah. So thank you very much, Sabrina, one more time for the interview and the music. And we are coming back to the second challenge of today. I think we will just skip the jingle, Dennis, although I like that your fingers were very fast. They're like, yeah. And the second challenge is, although I think the first one was really interesting to discuss, but the second was how to protest when you cannot assemble or gather. And here we would like to definitely address those situations where in certain countries governments might be using the lockdown and the fact that their citizens are immobilized at homes to maybe push some of the laws that usually would gain a controversial response and would be opposed to. Because there are, I think, two things that we have to think about if we talk about protests. There are people who are definitely not happy with this entire situation and are actually against the lockdown and the limitation of the freedom itself. That's one group that would definitely protest only for that. And there are also people who are noticing in certain countries that the government is doing something that in normal times wouldn't fly. And how can they voice their opinions when they cannot assemble or gather? I know.
Well, this is a very difficult topic.
Very difficult.
And I do admit that it concerned me personally a lot when I found out about the general lockdown of 3 billion people. I, coming from a country with a communistic past, with people being killed for protesting, with people being put in prison for having a different opinion than the official opinion of the country, it really pressed some deep, fears in me that we are now putting a world on a lockdown, because I could feel that there are people who are going to use it for bad purposes. I don't know how to call it, because I don't like to put things in good and bad or right and wrong. And we see that happening in my beloved home country.
That happens to be also my beloved country as well.
Yeah. So one thing is people who feel they lost their freedom to do whatever they would like to do. Yeah. They cannot earn money. They cannot put, food on the table into their families and so on. And they want to, like you said, protest against the lockdown itself. And they cannot do it freely right now. That's difficult already. Mm-hmm. But these things like trying to enforce a law forbidding entirely abortion in Poland, that's close to scandalous for me, even though I rarely get something as scandalous, to be honest. Mm-hmm. In Poland, abortion is only allowed in very few restricted cases, things like rape, things like threat to mother's life and terminal disease of a baby. So it's already very restricted. And right now, the government is trying to pass a law which will forbid it completely, which means that you will be forced by law to carry a pregnancy, even if it is a life threat to you. And you already have, 4 or 5 children at home who will then be at a high risk of losing a mother. I find it very difficult. I find it very, very difficult. And that law, the government in Poland has been trying to pass over the last few years. Every time it's brought up, millions of people go out on streets in Poland in a strong protest because it's a cruel law. It's I'm not going to get
emotional.
I'm not going to get emotional. Yeah. It's rarely that I believe these kind of things, but I do believe, although I must say this, I personally am not pro-abortion. I cannot say I'm pro-abortion or against abortion. Yeah. I am pro-free will choice in this kind of matters. And how do we protest then? So in Poland, people started to protest online. There are some filters on Facebook where you can put a few different filters. Unfortunately, and this I have found out today, the filters are also having the face mask, which, and then they have a commentary in Polish. So some of my friends from other countries than Poland, they now think that I am pro-wearing masks. So that I am protesting something around, staying at home, wearing a mask, and so on. So maybe not entirely working in this way, because that's not the case. That's not the reason why I am having that filter. And that's maybe something that can be taken under consideration. But one way of going protesting is online. And another way I've read about it that's quite interesting. In US, there are many people in many different states protesting against the lockdown, and they have been gathering in protests inside their cars
Yes.
which is an interesting solution if you want to protest against something. Some people started to leave their cars and started to gather in front of Capitol without respecting the law of social distancing. But then again, if you are not seeing the point of social distancing, if you yourself are believing that it makes no sense, then of course you are then more prone to not to be keeping that social distance yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, and my personal way is writing about it. Writing about it, talking to people about it. I've read that many activists are using the phones, talking to each other on the phones, organizing Zoom calls, and so on. So it's difficult times for people who believe that some bad things or wrong things are happening in the world. It's difficult to protest. Our free right to peaceful protest is not being easy to be executed right now.
Yes, and unfortunately, we are having a coincidence that some people believe is not a coincidence, because 2019 was a year when there were massive protests in many, many countries. Very close to my heart, Chile, because my younger daughter is half Chilean. There were millions of people on the street protesting against the government. Now, of course, they cannot do it. There was the same protest in Hong Kong, in Barcelona, the Yellow Vest in France. There was a lot of movement that was not connected with the virus at all, and people were trying to abolish or negotiate different conditions because they didn't believe in the righteous motives of their governments, and now all of this is banned because of the virus. So many people have an impression that this situation is being used by the governments to silence the voices that are protesting against the problems that did not disappear because of the virus. Those problems are still there, but now you cannot voice your protest. Another thing is that there is actually quite a number of protests all over the world. It's just that you cannot really find many information about it because we do have a problem with Google algorithm and indexing the pages right now. It's difficult to find alternative informations. I don't believe it's a secret because those are official announcements. But the places, today I found that there are protests in Ohio and Michigan in the United States, in Pakistan, in India, Mumbai, South Africa, Nigeria, and Germany. And those are protests only regarding the lockdown and taking the liberty of people, for people to actually voice their opinions. Those people, as you mentioned, they don't care about social distancing. They just simply are saying, okay, this is bull. The other people, I also noticed, Marta, what you have said. I know that there were some women in Poland that in the middle of the night went down and prepared the posters, especially protesting this abortion law. And they were gluing those posters on the normal ads windows, like on the bus stops and stuff. So there were huge posters, and it was, in the middle of the night, running away from police, because police in Poland is very, very eager to give you a fine if you are doing something against the lockdown law. And apparently some parts of Warsaw were just simply, covered in posters with protests against this law. So that's also an idea. But if you think that people are not protesting, then you are misinformed. There are protests, and I think it's a boiling pot, the pot that can explode. But let's try to figure out how can we voice our opinions in these difficult times when we cannot gather and we cannot assemble, and we can do it in other ways. It's a time for creativity to take over, I guess.
Luckily, we are humans and we can be creative.
Yes, I guess so. I believe that this is almost the end of our very first part of 5 challenges that fellow humans are facing right now when they are during the lockdown. Maybe we will come back to the challenge number 2 in the second episode. Maybe we will not, because, as you know, we always have a lot of things to say about many things. And that was a very stupid sentence I have just voiced. Many things about many things. Dennis, I made you laugh. That's awesome. Marta, so what? Are we ready for part 2 soon?
Definitely.
Definitely, guys. Thank you very much for today. You will be able to hear the part 2 next week on Friday at 2 o'clock on the radio. And like always, on our website, the5options.com. Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Bye.
That's your life challenge. Or just to see how do we really look like, visit our website, the5options.com.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and that you will come for more. That's all, folks.